Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. On behalf of everyone at Rev.io, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Before we begin the presentation, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. First, audio will automatically come in through your computer speakers. However, if you're having trouble using your speakers or unhappy with the quality of the sound, you can also dial in via phone number and access code listed on the screen. Second, a recorded version of this webinar will be emailed to you within 2 weeks. Third, we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the event. Please submit your questions via the GoToWebinar control panel at any point during the live presentation. For those of you joining us, welcome. Today we will discuss the keys to launching and growing a successful resale channel with our panel of experts. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Ryan, Forrest, and Jason.
Thanks, Delaney.
Thank you, Delaney.
All right. Yeah, I think it makes sense to really set up the conversation today. So, Rev.io, we have seen a lot of success and a lot of interest from service providers looking to roll out reseller channels. And through our bill on behalf model being packaged in with some of the services that you may be reselling to smaller emerging service providers, we really believe that this can provide a complete offering and really give them that peace of mind, knowing that all those complexities that go along with becoming a service provider in this industry are taken care of and provided on your behalf. So I think it makes sense. I'm going to first introduce our guest that we have joining our panel today. Jason, we'll start with you. You want to give a little background?
Yeah, hello everybody. This is Jason Jones. I'm the VP of Sales for SkySwitch. I'm in charge of the channel partner acquisition for SkySwitch. We are a white label, channel only UCaaS service provider and telecommunications provider. Been in business for now about 6 years, and we've been growing our channel steadily over the years. And we currently have about 465 resellers across North America. That would be the United States and Canada. And we are supporting those channel partners to be ultra successful out there in the industry, selling hosted PBX, SIP trunking, call center solutions, web and video conferencing, video surveillance, just a host of different services that we offer on our platform.
Great, thanks, Jason. And then we also have Forrest from Altaworx joining us today.
Hey, this is Forrest with Altaworx, EVP. I have been with the company for about almost 5 years, and we have been selling through agents for a number of years, but have realized recently over the last 2 or 3 years that resellers is really where we need to go. And so we developed Catapult along with Rev.io's billing platform to provide an end-to-end solution for hosted voice as well as a billing platform.
Great. Well, we'll be asking both of them some questions here as we go through the presentation, but we can go ahead and move on and get into some of the terminology here. I think it's a good place to start. So most of the attendees, I would assume, are Rev.io customers today, and if you're not, we'll make sure that we answer any of your questions that you may have. But there's a few things I want to make sure we clear up, and the first thing is there's a wholesaler, which we'll be referring to today, and that is the Rev.io client that is administering this bill on behalf model. Should be most of you that are on the call today. The reseller would be your client that you're providing these billing on behalf services to that have their own end users. So an end user is the reseller's client who receives that end bill at the end of every month. And then we have 2 instances of Rev.io that are going to be talked about. We have the core instance, which is the instance you have today that you're billing your customers direct. But in the reseller model, we spin up a second instance of Rev.io that's multi-tenant, that all your resellers live under one roof. So those 2 are completely separate, and there's a reason for that, and we'll discuss that today. So I wanted to talk through a few benefits here, and please ask any questions. We'll answer all those at the end of the webinar. But resellers are usually smaller emerging service providers that may have been a managed service provider, a VAR, an agent that are looking to become a service provider. So with the bill on behalf model, we're providing them a billing system that's going to automate all those complex rules and processes that go along with delivering an invoice to your customer every month. And on top of that, we are providing them a solution that will monetize all usage-based products and services. So if they want to bill based on consumption, they can do that in this bill on behalf environment. We're ensuring tax accuracy with an integration to SureTax so they can make sure that they stay compliant. The Rev.io bill on behalf model would calculate all those taxes based on the different products that they're using and selling. We're also providing their end users a self-service portal that's completely branded to the reseller. So they can go in and pay bills, download copies of their bills, see any important reports that your reseller would want to share with them. And then lastly, we're consolidating all this information to a single account. And that's really important, is that they have a sophisticated customer management solution to manage their customers. Now, most of these service providers wouldn't be able to necessarily afford being able to work with Rev.io direct. And there's a lot of features and functionality that may not be important to them. And that's why we've created this model. And companies like Altaworx and SkySwitch have seen amazing success because of it. So because it is a multi-tenant environment, one of the biggest things I want to stress today is that it's important that the resellers can't see each other's information. So there's a lot of features in Rev.io that we have to wall off so that the resellers can't see each other's customers, products, pricing, things like that. But what they can do today, and most of you should be familiar with these features, is they have the ability to create their own customer accounts. They can build requests, which are quotes and proposals inside of Rev.io. They can add notes, attachments, contacts, and tags on the accounts in the customer profile area. They can manage orders on the account, can post payments, credit cards, ACH, check. They can update payment information. They have access to any shared reports that you as the wholesaler want to provide to them. They can send one-off invoices, can add credits, charges, reverse bills, and make corrections on the fly. They can build and manage their own services on accounts, can update product quantities and rates, can manage parent-child relationships and hierarchies, and again, have that branded Bill Center customer portal that they can expose to their end user. All this is available in the reseller model. On the next slide, we're going to talk about what is not available because it's a multi-tenant environment. So anything inside the system that has those global workflow views, things like the tickets module, tasks, inventory, commissions, all of those features have to be walled off so they cannot see each other's information again. So you will have to manage the create bills queue for them and set up those dates that their bill would automatically be delivered. You would have to build their collection templates on their behalf. You're not going to have access to all the settings inside the system. You're going to provide them a list of standard products, but if they wanted to create a one-off product for themselves, they would have to make a request for your team to do on their behalf. Then usage plans is the same thing, creating user permissions, and even making tax customizations and accessing FTP sites. So a lot of this is, I can't stress it enough, it's important that, one, you're very straight up with your resellers in the very beginning that what they can and can't do, and that you have dedicated resources on your team that will administer this system on their behalf for things that they don't have direct access to. So we'll keep moving here. So targeting resellers is not something I would recommend you signing up for a bill on behalf billing system like Rev.io if you don't have a lot of interest already generated. You have to, for it to be really profitable, you have to have more than just one or two resellers that would use this model. The other piece I'll stress again is having a dedicated team to not only just support resellers, but also onboard them and administer the system. The SkySwitch and Altaworx, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but both of them have dedicated employees just for supporting their bill on behalf reseller environment. And the other piece that kind of goes along with that is any support, any questions, any tickets that come from those resellers, your team, you as the wholesaler, have to be responsible for taking care of those requests. Rev.io would not have any direct contact with your resellers. And the same thing goes for onboarding them. So migrating in their customers, helping them set up their products, collection templates, all that stuff is owned by you as the wholesaler. And then lastly, if you do get a reseller that gets to a point where they could benefit from all these additional features that Rev.io offers, we do have a reseller referral program that both Altaworx and SkySwitch have been a part of, that you can refer that reseller up to Rev.io and we would pay a commission to you on an evergreen environment. So just wanted to state those few points, and we are going to talk about that a little bit more, but I think that's a good baseline for today's conversation. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started here. My first question, I'll start with Forrest, is what are some of the top trends that you're seeing in the marketplace, and how are you translating that into growth for your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're seeing lots of MSPs that want to become resellers of voice. They've got a business established, they're a trusted advisor, they're managing somebody's network, and they want to add voice. And the biggest challenge for them is how do they go about finding a platform, and then how do they go about billing it correctly and make sure they collect the right taxes. So that's why we have chosen Rev.io to help with the Catapult platform, because it allows us to do both of those things. And then we're partnered with NetSapiens as well to have a hosted voice platform that can be multi-tenant as well.
Okay, so you're seeing a lot of interest from MSPs, and I know that our sales team here at Rev.io are talking to a lot of MSPs also that are interested in rolling out a voice offering. Jason, is that you seen the kind of the same thing? Jason, you still there? Maybe on mute.
I was on mute. Sorry about that. I
Okay.
just want to echo what Forrest said. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of drive coming from the MSP market out there. They're looking to integrate VoIP into their portfolio of services. They have just a large amount of services they're taking out to their customers, and their customers are demanding that voice. And a lot of them don't know how to do it or who to choose to go about, delivering those services. And companies like Altaworx and companies like SkySwitch exist so they can utilize our platform and our resources to just to depend on us to deliver those services down on a day-to-day basis, and that has incredible uptime and scalability. Another interesting thing that I've seen too is that we're getting a lot of new prospects coming to SkySwitch that are just wishing to or wanting to migrate off their existing platforms, whether it be like a homegrown asterisk-based platform, or even BroadSoft or Bicom or whatever platform it might be. And it's scalability issues on their own. They're just not able to scale up. They want to grow and they want to get bigger and they want to generate more revenue, but they have to hire a lot of internal resources in order to do that. And they're not quite certain they want to do that. Maybe they lack some features and functionality allowing them to compete effectively out there in the market against some of the big boys like Ring Central or 8x8, Vonage. And hiring those internal resources, when you start looking at the human capital that's involved with building out your own network and managing your own network and having redundancy built into your employee base to support that network, it starts to get really, really pricey. And that's where a UCaaS white label platform like SkySwitch can just truly benefit these customers out there wanting to migrate. And you know what? And they want to evolve their platform with new technologies. And how do they do that? Do they develop on their own? Do they integrate it on their own? Well, you need those development and those resources to extend your own platform. So it can be a problem. And that's where we see a lot of growth.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jason. I mean, you're both out there meeting with these partners and resellers. Forrest, are you hearing the same thing? Are they actively coming to you saying, hey, I would love to become a voice provider. I just don't think I have the infrastructure in place to do that successfully?
Absolutely. They don't have the infrastructure, or maybe they're using somebody like Ring Central or something like that, where they don't have a good platform that gives them the control that they want and the branding that they want. So we're absolutely seeing that.
And how are you helping them grow? Can you share a little bit more about that and from what you've seen so far in your tenure at Catapult?
So the biggest thing I think, along with what Jason said, is giving them the tools that they need so that they don't have to go out and purchase them. So it is a huge amount of money to go out and purchase a hosted voice platform, and a huge amount of money to get started with Rev.io Direct. And so if you can build a ecosystem, if you will, of all the tools necessary of an out-of-the-box startup kit for these guys to get started, it makes that jump to hosted voice much easier.
Right. And today there's more competition than ever, and product offerings are constantly evolving. So how are you differentiating your offering, and what are resellers bringing their businesses? Why are they bringing their businesses through, I guess, is the question. Jason, I'll send that one over to you.
Yeah. There are many reasons we're seeing an uptick in new white label partners seeking to use our white label platform. it's the stability and uptime. We've added just yet another node in our Las Vegas data center, and now we have 3 geodiverse endpoints or data centers out there. So we just have impeccable uptime and stability on our platform, something that a reseller can count on day in and day out, and that's what they want. They want to go out and sell services, and then we'll be able to go to bed at night and not have to worry about it, and know there's a team behind them that's managing the network, that's growing the network, that's mitigating fraud out there, and that's what we do. So we tend to use some technology that helps them along. That with our DNS SRV record strategy and our SIP endpoints, if they fail at the primary data center, then boom, it's going to fail over to the next one. And the worst thing that could possibly happen would just be a call drop, which in general sentence, or in a general sense, that's going to be very, very acceptable. Yeah, so I think that's one of them out there that I was talking about.
So you're saying that your technology provides true uptime stability, so they don't have to worry about the reliability piece. They can really just focus on selling. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're trying to build out and expand their sales teams too. They're trying to integrate CRMs to automate and develop a digital marketing strategy in their corporation. And a lot of our resellers too, they're concentrating on vertical markets like hospitality, dental, legal, and better integrations to product packaging and those other customer types. So yeah, we're seeing this multiple different reasons out there.
That's awesome. Forrest, what about you? How does your product offering differentiate itself?
Well, it's very similar to SkySwitch. We're on the NetSapiens platform and have geo-redundant data centers, which, like you said, it's vital for voice communications for any business now. But the other factor I would say that we added into it is we're using the AT&T network, which when we can have a reseller provide an AT&T dedicated MIS connection to a customer, and they use our voice platform to our AT&T network in our data centers, then they get class of service from start to finish, from endpoint to endpoint. We have found that it's very difficult for a customer to leave after they've had that class of service. And so through our resellers, they can sell circuits as well as the voice platform, and it all stays on the AT&T network.
Yeah, that's great. So you're partnering with a few different providers to provide kind of a complete solution, so that your customer retention is, it sounds like it's awesome. So when you provide that level of quality, I think that speaks a lot to your partnership. So several internal aspects need to be addressed to ensure that your company is ready to engage with a reseller channel. I know you both have been through that. What aspects do you think are most important to consider before launching a reseller initiative, just for our audience to understand that? Forrest, I'll go back to you on that one.
Okay. I think, one of the things that you mentioned early on was to make sure you've had a dedicated team that's there to help those resellers, and that is crucial. If you don't have that team together, if you're not invested in the reseller market, then you're not going to be successful. But then the other thing I would think is to make sure that you have things prepared, like contracts. You need to make sure it's a much different contract that you need to have with a customer versus with a reseller. And so make sure you've done the due diligence to make sure you're protected as well as the reseller is protected.
Okay, so dedicated team, investing in contracts, and making sure you understand kind of the legal side of working with resellers. You guys have done a lot with marketing as well. And Catapult's like its own brand, right? It's like a company within Altaworx. Yeah, how did that come to be? Do you have any suggestions or advice for the audience on that?
Well, definitely you need to create something that's easy to communicate and easy for these resellers to understand. So we did a couple of things. One, we came up with a brand name that we originally started it out as, it was called the IoT Incubator, because we really thought this business was going to be focused on IoT companies, but we found out very quickly that hosted voice was a huge issue. So definitely develop a brand that is in conjunction with your business, but helps them understand what it is. And then I would say the other thing from a marketing effort is make sure you can explain the program in as few words or images as possible. So we developed an infographic that we share that shows the flow of finances, shows the flow of ordering, shows how all the pieces work together in the ecosystem. And that has been probably the best marketing piece we've made, was just a one-page infographic that clearly defines how the program works and reduces the amount of questions people have.
So simplicity is key. I think you don't want to overwhelm these potential resellers, because they understand that this industry is very complex, and you want to make sure that they can pick up the basics of your offering without getting overwhelmed. I think that makes sense. Jason, what about you?
I think some of the internal aspects, I kind of look at this more on a philosophical, side of it too, defining your core principles up front. I mean, you need a switch. You need a billing platform. You have to choose right partners in order to build an ecosystem that you can deliver down to these resellers. But, defining your core principles up front and center, and just ensuring your reseller prospects, your competitors, your vendors, all your stakeholders fully understand who you are as a company, your core values, and your commitment to delivering your solutions at the highest possible level. That's really, to me, is paramount. And for example, SkySwitch chooses to be just ultra transparent with our customers in every possible way. Transparent to us means that with all our network or any service interruption event, or as a matter of fact, we prefer to, and we do not hide behind any problems whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, we will directly shine a light on it, and we will send out correspondence saying, hey, this event is happening. We're unable to deliver, voice down on these DIDs in this particular rate center because level 3 has an outage, whatever it might be. We're just really upfront and honest. And they say honesty is the best policy, and this philosophy just holds true for us. So blaming network outages on a carrier or an entity will not work. It just simply doesn't do it. The truth will eventually surface, and you'll have to answer for it later. I would also say that indirectly and by accident, all the principles and the stakeholders at SkySwitch, we follow a philosophy that really is contained in one of my books. So I'm getting a little philosophical on you here, but one of the books that we have all read is the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's just 4 little simple things that we do, and it's really helped build our company and really tie our customers close to us and make them ultra sticky. And that's where just always be impeccable with your word. You never make assumptions. You never take anything personally, and you always do your best. And and in closing, I just want to say that and just echo again what Forrest said. The key element is getting the right people in the right roles and just empowering them to excel at their job. That's what's proven to be successful for us.
That's great. I'll have to read the 4 Agreements. That's the second time I've heard about that book this week. So Forrest, I want to go back to you on the same question. You guys had, this is, I guess, a couple years in the making, but how long did you think about rolling out Catapult before you actually executed and made a decision to focus on it?
We probably talked about it and planned it for about 6 months. And that was a pretty intensive 6 months. And we signed our first partner. And I will tell you, like any company that's starting something new, we had to figure it out as we went along. And it took about 9 months until we got our second partner. But once we got the second partner and, got a rhythm and got a process down, it has been a much easier process. So I would encourage anybody out there that's wanting to start this, understand that it's not a quick process. It's not something you start next month and the following month you have 3 partners. It's something that you're going to have to build into and invest in.
That's great advice. So what resources do you provide to onboard, train, and support your reseller partners today and ensure that they're successful in selling this offering? Jason, I'll go back to you.
Okay, no problem. Well, we have taken great pains to define a clear and concise success roadmap for all our new resellers. And it starts with our sales team and their discovery process that ensures that every reseller, they're getting the perfect configuration for their business from both a technology and a financial perspective. So the last thing we want to do is to put a resource or to put undue resources or financial burden right out of the gate on a reseller. It doesn't work for anybody. We never want to try to stick a square peg in a round hole. And I think the next side of it there, our resellers are going to be introduced to our onboarding team and be introduced to our LMS or our learning management system. We've really designed this amazing learning management system that goes through every aspect of our platform. And the system takes them through a detailed journey of the platform, just UCaaS in general, and everything about provisioning, customer applications, supporting, and troubleshooting all those services on our platform. And then once they're completed with that, they'll go through a live webinar training with a dedicated SkySwitch onboarding specialist to further cement the LMS learning modules. And then they're going to be introduced to more detailed service provider requirements through the webinars. And that SkySwitch onboarding specialist will stay with the reseller through the entire onboarding process and even beyond. And they're going to be their exclusive support resource, for the first 60 days they're with us. And it's just really been we've proven to be just an amazing and effective model for us to get a reseller deploying, installing, and building for services within 45 days.
Yeah, so just to summarize there, so making sure that the financial barrier isn't too much to take on. You have leveraging a learning management system that really breaks down every aspect of your platform, and then you have dedicated live webinar training, and those training resources really stick with that reseller through the entire process. That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure that took some time to get dialed in, but now that you've got a process in place, it's off to the races. So, Forrest, what about you? What resources have you put in place to support these resellers?
Yeah, so it's very similar along the same lines. We've got a dedicated team. First of all, the consultant that talks to the prospect, the reseller prospect, walks them through the Catapult program, the features, the benefits, but also the limitations. Like you said, it's important to make sure your resellers understand that they're not going to have the full features of all Rev.io and other functions. So they lay that out, make sure it's a good fit, and then hand them off to the next step. Once they've signed, we get them to our onboarding team, which goes through an interview process to really understand what the company's, the resellers' goals are and how they're going to market, and then we can structure the billing platform to match that, as well as the hosted voice platform. After we get done the onboarding process and make sure that they're ready to go, actually during the onboarding process and toward the end, we engage our product team, which starts helping the reseller understand the different products that they can offer. So not only hosted voice, but wireless backup, circuits, how they quote, how they generate quotes, generate contracts for their customers, etc. So it's a pretty involved process. Ours takes about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the customer. But I will say a lot of times it's more on the reseller side, how fast they can get information to us and get set up. So it's important to make sure you have some structure and make sure you have some defined timelines and defined meeting schedules, because all these resellers obviously have another side of their business that they're running and they're busy, and you've got to pin them down and make sure that they know, all right, next week, next Thursday, we're going to have a call at 2 o'clock. You're going to need to have X, Y, Z ready for us so that we can move to the next step.
Yeah, and I think any type of technology onboarding process, you worry about engagement from the company that you're working with, and it sounds like you guys have a good process in place as well. What are you seeing from the support side? Again, I know Rev.io, we're not that tier 1 support for your resellers. Do you feel like a lot of the requests that are coming from resellers are very manageable from the team that you've put together for us?
Yeah, they are. Most of them really come in the first couple of cycles, bill cycles, where they're getting used to the system and getting used to adding customers. And then there's always, compliance questions about, how to tax code certain things, where we help them through that process. But most of it is very manageable. Like I said, that first couple of bill cycles, two or three bill cycles, there's a lot of questions. But after that, it tapers off, and then it's just if they have a new project that they don't know how to do something.
That's good to know. So my next question is really, partner business propositions address the key reasons the relationship is beneficial to the vendor and the partner. So I'm curious to hear how you're packaging Rev.io in with these different services that you guys are reselling. I know at Catapult, you guys have a package that may include tax compliance and Rev.io, and you may have a package that just has Rev.io, and you may have a package that just has your carrier services. So, Forrest, can you speak on like how you're bundling this Rev.io bill on behalf model into your offering today?
Yeah, it goes back to the infographic that we have that really shows you the ecosystem, and the ecosystem includes compliance, it includes billing, and it includes carrier services and UCaaS. And so what we've tried to do is help resellers that come to us understand that there are options. It's not a everybody. It's not a all fits one. So not everybody fits in the same segment. Some people just need carrier services billing. Some people need carrier services billing and compliance. Some people just need billing and compliance. And so we found that if we provide that ecosystem of an almost an a la carte shopping system where they can choose the features that are important for them, and we can help guide them to the right decision. And I'll be honest, there's times that we, in talking to partners, resellers, they'll come to us and they are too large or too complex for us to manage through Catapult because they need these additional workflows and features in Rev.io. And so we a lot of times will talk to that reseller, go through the process of evaluating what their business goals are, and then we may refer them direct to Rev.io or direct to GSA or some other compliance company so that they can do business direct with Rev.io, and then we would just help them with the carrier services and the UCaaS. So I would say that you got to be flexible in talking to these partners and don't try to push everybody into the same box.
You never thought about that. I mean, I'm sure that you guys both have ideal reseller profiles, and making a clear distinction of what is too big or too complex for you to manage and support, I think is important, because at the end of the day, that's just going to provide a negative experience to that reseller, right?
Absolutely.
And Jason, at SkySwitch, you have your own tax compliance partners that you work with as well. And I'm curious to know how you package and bundle these services together. Is it an a la carte like Catapult does today?
It is. It's what Forrest just explained to the audience is pretty much identical to what our company does also. But I just want to go say first and foremost, when we started the company and we and got the switch into the data centers and we started building the platforms around the switch, we didn't have a billing platform, and we came to Rev.io, and kind of all roads kind of led back to Rev.io, and you really didn't even have a white label multi-tenant instance, and you developed that for us, and that's part of what makes up our success. And for using a term, it catapulted us into becoming a premier provider across the United States and Canada, is that having that billing platform, that robust billing platform. And even though there are a few little omissions in it, it just allowed us to take those services out to our reseller, those billing services, automate that process, train our resellers on it, and fully support them on the billing platform. And then if they want to swim upstream and if they want to come in and get those agent commission modules or some of that back office workflow that's absent out of the multi-tenant instance, then we just bring them right over to Rev.io. And I just want to say it's just really enabled us to build a tight relationship with Rev, but also have an upgrade path to our resellers, which is huge. And that's what they want. They don't want to be stuck in a situation within their business that they can't evolve and they can't move forward. So that part of the business has been very, very successful for us. And another part of the success that we're bringing to our program is it's structured as a true wholesale pricing model. Our resellers only pay for what they use, for every minute, down to 6-second increments. What does that mean to them? That means they're optimizing their earning potential and their revenue potential. So you're trying to build a monthly recurring revenue stream, and you want to optimize your earning potential on that. And our resellers are recognizing anywhere between 60 to 70% gross profit when selling services on our platform. So that in itself, if the money's there, if the revenue's there, if you've got good stability, if you're extending your platform and really creating new technology for your resellers to allow them to compete effectively in the market, it's just a win-win situation.
Yeah, 60 to 70% margin. I mean, that's extremely competitive. I wasn't aware of that. So I'm curious to know, Jason, kind of speak on your ideal reseller profile. How has that evolved since the beginning? 'Cause you guys were really the pioneers in this bill on behalf model, especially at Rev.io. I'm sure at the very beginning it changed and evolved tremendously over the last, what, 6, 7 years?
It really has. Well, I mean, we've only been really selling the product and out there really marketing the platform for about 5 years. But you know, the model's changed. We kind of talked to a little bit earlier. Those MSPs now are being inquired when every time they see their customers that, hey, can you go ahead and, since you're taking care of my network, you're managing the network, you know everything about our network, can we get voice services from you too? So it's just a natural progression for them to move into the voice arena. But we started off with a lot of interconnects. Interconnect companies or PBX vendors that sell PBXs to Toshiba, Samsung, could be Mitel, whatever they were selling at the time. And then there was a transition out into the cloud. We're still seeing some of it today, but yeah, the identity of our new prospects out there and our new resellers, yeah, is changing a little bit. And again, I alluded to earlier too, you're seeing existing platform not providers, but companies or resellers with existing Asterisk platforms or some other homegrown platform or another competitor of ours that they're just not quite getting all the services that they need or the features they need, or like we developed a business SMS platform too that allow our resellers just to go out there and generate more revenue out of their customers. They have money, they want to give it to you or give it to somebody. So, we're saying, hey, it should be a SkySwitch reseller. So yeah, so as far as a partner profile, you really kind of have to match up your services to that channel. And we're doing white label, and but there's other companies out there that that do an agent channel. It's you just gotta marry those products up to that channel in which you wish to build.
Yeah, you got to stay flexible and understand that that's going to change over time.
It will.
Yeah, so we talked about having dedicated employees before. So what other advice would you give to companies that are kind of on the fence or thinking about rolling out a bill on behalf model?
I would say make sure that you identify and target the right type of resellers. We have a lot of people coming to us that want to become a reseller, but they don't understand the complexities that when you take on when you become a reseller. Being an agent and getting paid commission, there's no liability, there's no risk. It's easy, you get paid. But we have found that educating a partner that may be an MSP that wants to take on reselling hosted voice services, that they really need to understand that in order to take that on, they've got to be willing to invest in it. We've had a couple of resellers that we've taken on over the last couple of years, and we learned our lesson with them that they just were not invested in the system and not invested in the process. And one of the first things we ask a reseller, a potential reseller, is, what's your exit strategy? And it confuses a lot of these MSPs and a lot of these business owners, particularly partners and agents, because they don't have an exit strategy for their business. And therefore, they're making a commission check, but when they go to try to sell their business is not worth what they think it was. We've come across, I don't know how many people who think their business is worth 3 or 4 times revenue, but they're only getting commissions. And so they're not getting offered, more than probably 3/4 of annual revenue. And so that exit strategy question really helps us help a partner understand that if they want to build a business that they can sell at a later date and retire, the only way to do that is to become a reseller where they own the customer relationship and where they build equity value so that you can get 3 to 5 times annual revenue as a business sale.
Yeah, I think every business owner is planning an exit at some point. And I've had those conversations with agents. I was just at Channel Partners last week. I think it's become easier than ever to become a service provider, and with partners like Catapult and SkySwitch, they can really enable you to do that quickly. And Jason, do you have any advice you would add to that?
No, I would, again, our business models are very, very similar. And yeah, just, you know, I've always talked about the exit strategy too. You can either build somebody else's brand up, and take a commission, or you can build your own brand up. And that's where you're going to build your valuation of your business. So I wholeheartedly agree with Forrest and what he communicated there.
That's great. Well, my last question today is really about the partnership with Rev.io. So how has that helped open new markets for you, and what's it done to your business, maybe from a revenue perspective? Forrest, you want to start?
Yeah, I would say the partnership with Rev.io has been vital because the reseller platform enables us to provide that ecosystem package that has the billing component with integration with SureTax. We come across countless people that we talk to that are billing telecom services through QuickBooks. And it is just amazing that they think they're doing it correct. And the first thing we ask them is, send me a copy of your invoice, and you can know that they're doing it wrong. So if you don't have a sophisticated billing platform like Rev.io, then these resellers are not going to be successful. And so we actually have turned away business where a reseller doesn't want to use a sophisticated billing platform and wants to use something like QuickBooks and say, look, this is not for you. You're not invested. You're not really wanting to take this on and run with it. So it's the linchpin that holds it all together. If you can't bill and do the taxation right, like you guys have set up using the SureTax database, then you will not be successful in the long run.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. Jason, what about you? We've had a lot of conversations about the Rev.io partnership, and I know we've really tried our best to adapt to you and your requirements over the last 5 years, and we really appreciate everything that you've done for us. So maybe you can kind of wrap up and tell us what the partnership has meant to you and SkySwitch.
Well, I tell you, if it wasn't for Rev, honestly, we probably wouldn't experience the growth we have over the last 5 years. It's the first question out of the gate, when you're demonstrating, your capabilities and your platform, and your customers are coming to you and, do you have a billing platform? What do you do for billing? And there's a lot of providers and service providers out there, and platform providers, and communication platform as a service providers out there. They've got an integrated billing platform, and that's one thing that the NetSapiens platform didn't have, and that's exactly why Forrest and I, are on this call with you today. We had to go out there, we had to search, we had the option. Do we build one? All right. So, and what are the dev resources in order to actually go out there and build your own platform? It just wasn't even a consideration. So after, we discovered, who Rev was and the infrastructure that you have within your company from a business perspective, and the professionalism that you guys exude on a daily basis, it was just a no-brainer for us to choose to partner with you. We didn't really understand or know how it would turn out in the very, very beginning, but we are just so glad we did, because it just helped propel our business. So again, you got to have that billing component in your white label ecosystem in order to compete out there. From SkySwitch's perspective, we're really happy we were able to build this relationship with Rev.io and continue to grow it and grow our business. So I think it's again, it was just a perfect win-win situation for the both of our companies.
Yeah, and I really appreciate everything you just said. I think both of you have done an awesome job of leveraging our API also to make enhancements as you've grown this out, right? And SkySwitch, you guys have your own quoting tool that you've integrated in with Rev.io and some other things. So how has that helped evolve the model over time?
Well, when it comes to a reseller platform, a reseller needs some back office automation. If they're having to do everything manually, they're just not going to be very proficient at deploying and provisioning services. So we have a quoting tool that's built inside our ecosystem that allows them to go out there and produce a massive amounts of quotes. But once you get that quote, how do you get that quote over into the billing platform? There was nothing connected there. So again, by virtue of having that API, we're able to develop a webhook right from the quoting system right into Rev.io, and just drop those orders right in as a pending order. And then the actual user can go in and select those orders, bring them up, and manually complete them and build that customer directly in Rev.io. Having that workflow and demonstrating that workflow has really kind of solidified the whole offering as a whole.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Forrest, I know you've done some crazy integrations as well, but I think we should open it up to the audience. We only have about 15 minutes left. So we'll give you all an opportunity to write some questions there in the window, and we'll answer those for you. But I definitely want to thank Jason and Forrest for taking time to share some insights with us. All right, looks like we've got one here. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced as you've managed and rolled out this reseller program? Forrest, you want to take that?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest challenges was ramping up the workforce to be dedicated to support those reseller partners. For years we were in an agent model, and that's a different type of support structure where you're just helping people sell something. So when you take on this reseller challenge, you've got to have the back office staff to be able to answer the phone and be able to answer these resellers' questions when they need help with how to build their platform.
Yeah, I mean, did you hire employees that were brand new to the company to take on this reseller model, or did you take existing employees and kind of shift their focus more to the reseller model?
It was a little bit of both. So we've had some employees that were on the agent side, and we've moved them over to reseller, and then we've hired employees that were totally outside of the company, even outside of the industry, and put them in positions. So I don't know how SkySwitch Jason does it or has experience, but we've had better experience hiring people outside of the telecom industry than we've had hiring people inside the telecom industry.
In certain positions, I think you would be correct on that, Forrest. Absolutely.
Jason, what about the challenges that your team has faced over the last 5 years?
Yeah, ironically, it's really the same answer as Forrest had there. It was just the scalability, having to. We were born out. Let's take you back a little bit. We were just born out of the Net Sapiens, out of Net Sapiens because our president and CEO and visionary, Eric Hernais, was the VP of marketing there. So he had this white label reseller concept there, and they launched it. It caused a little channel conflict, and he rolled it out. So we rolled it out without any expectations that, well, it's a great idea, let's do it. And it was a fantastic idea. I came on board the company, in the sales role. And then unfortunately, to some of our competitors' dismay, they had some service outages about a couple years after we got into the market, which really flooded us with a ton of new sales. And even though that we were very happy about it, it just really impacted our operations team to the point where we just couldn't take it anymore. We were just busting at the seams. We couldn't deliver onboarding effectively. We couldn't even get our billing out effectively. So scalability and watching your business and making sure that those resources are intact, or if you need to hire, stay on top of that, because you could experience some explosive growth and then it starts to impact your business and you can't deliver.
Yeah, that's interesting. You guys have seen explosive growth, and I'm sure scalability was something you guys really had to prepare for. We got another question here, and it's more around onboarding. Forrest, what is the typical duration for onboarding a new reseller? What's that look like?
Yeah, it's typically around 6 to 8 weeks, just because there's a process that you got to go through to gather information, and there's a lot of information to get payment gateways and all the various things set up in the reseller platform that may take your reseller time, because they may not have them set up yet. They may have to go sign up for those services to supplement what you're doing. So 6 to 8 weeks is really the onboarding time that we have seen, although we've seen some go longer. But most of the time when it goes longer, it's a rather large partner that's migrating a lot of customers, or they just have a slow response rate on getting information to us.
Yeah, what about you, Jason? That's kind of the last question here to wrap up.
Yeah, it pretty much exactly dead on to what Forrest said there. What we try to do when we're onboarding with Rev.io we're building product catalog, especially with the new reseller. You're building out a brand new product catalog. You're doing the tax mapping. There is kind of a forklift there. We have the means and the resources and the expertise to get it done. We get it done well. But your 8-week mark for us is really dead on for us. We want to get through a couple bill cycles with them. And then, by virtue of you having the auto bill option, we want to get them to auto billing, but you got to get them in deploying services and installing those services and billing those services. They need to see that entire flow of how it runs through the business. And that's what we try to achieve. And really, it can be 45 to 60 days, but generally with Rev.io, it's going to be about a 60-day process.
Got it. I think that's really important to talk through. So that was a great question, but really appreciate everyone attending today. I want to be respectful of our panelists' time. If anyone has any interest in exploring this Rev.io bill on behalf model, our sales team would be more than willing to run you through a quick presentation, go over some of the pricing structure that comes along with that. So Delaney will send out an email as a follow-up to this webinar. And if anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me directly. But again, I can't thank you both enough, Forrest and Jason, for taking time to speak on your experiences. And we really appreciate the partnership with both Altaworx and SkySwitch.
Thank you.
Our pleasure, Ryan. Thank you, Delaney. Thank you, everyone.
All right, everyone. You have a great weekend. Thank you for joining.